How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the No Name College Football Podcast, episode 5, 6, one of the two.
Yeah.
We did not record an episode last week. Jacob was out of town, so schedule just didn't line up. So sorry about that, but we will talk about last week, what happened last week, and we watched football together all day Saturday again for I think second week in a row now, third week in a row.
Something like that.
So we did have picks. We did do some picks on some games, so that way we still have some stakes in this. Starting off last week on Tuesday, this is why Jacob was out of town. He was at this game. Our boys on the mountain, App State lost on a walk-off field goal to Coastal. Grayson Paul just carved it up. Big plays for Coastal. Really was the big blow, especially in the first quarter. Couple penalties also in the first quarter against App that were kind of iffy. I'm not going to blame it on the refs, though. We just got outplayed straight up. But thought it was crazy that, as you can barely see right here, Coastal walked it off in the, I don't know directional wise, I guess east end zone, which is crazy because when we beat them 2 years ago at our place when they were ranked, we walked it off in the same exact end zone on a field goal and also won 27-24. Jacob, you got anything on that game?
App just started off slow, and they should have come back. I mean, they had the game and just couldn't finish it out, which has seemed like the theme this year. I still think App's a good team. Same with Coastal. They just haven't had things go their way this year.
I agree. And also losing Nate Noel with an injury early in the game when he was a top 5 going into the game, top 5 leading rusher in yards in the country also hurts when you lose your guy like that. Not a lot else going on during the week until Thursday. Really briefly want to talk about, didn't watch this game. However, I did see the ending of it on Twitter because it was one of the crazier endings in college football I've seen in a recent memory. So West Virginia is down in this game 35-32, if I remember correctly. 4th and 20 from about, I think it was their own 50. They were right on the 50-yard line. 4th and 20, about 25-30 seconds left. They have to convert to keep the game going or to have a chance to win. They score a 50-yard touchdown on 4th and 20. I think the clock ran to 12 seconds, I think it was, if I remember correctly. And then Houston turns around and completes a Hail Mary to win the football game. Crazy ending of that game. But again, I didn't get to watch any of it. Bad loss for West Virginia, or not a bad loss, but unfortunate loss for them because they had a chance to improve to 5-1 over there in the Big 12 and stay undefeated in Big 12 play. Tulane Memphis, did watch this one for a little bit. Tulane is really good.
Yeah, they are
really good. If not one of the best group of 5 teams for sure in college football right now. Their one loss being to Mississippi. I think they lost by 3 touchdowns, something like that.
The starting quarterback didn't play.
Yeah, and their starting quarterback did not play in that game. So, kind of have to put an asterisk beside the loss. Memphis is a good team, though. Not taking anything away from Memphis. Memphis is also a very good team. But Tulane is legit. And this is the second year in a row we saw them in the group of 5 New Year's 6 game last year and beat a USC team that was really good. Yeah. Crazy game over here, Stanford, Colorado. I had turned it off, or not turned it off, but I went and got food. It was like 29-0, and I was like, man, this one's kind of over, and I kept it on. And then sure enough, second half, Stanford comes out there and they start just building. And then, Stanford comes back and wins the football game in 2 overtimes. Crazy. One of the craziest games I've ever seen from a receiver. I don't want to mess his first name up, but I'm pretty sure his last name is Ayo Manor is how you pronounce it. 13 receptions, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns.
On Travis Hunter, a lot of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been getting.
And the crazy thing was it was just the same thing over and over again. Like, they just kept running these underneath slant routes with them. And it was one of those things that you don't see a whole lot in football in any level. If somebody keeps going the same thing, usually somebody stops it. But I don't know what Colorado is doing. They've quickly fell to 4-3 now. Um, and the road ahead does not get easier for them at all. At all. Yeah. But let's move to Saturday. We had a lot of games. Jacob, floor is yours per usual with the Georgia game.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a weird game. Like there was never any question that Georgia was going to win, but Georgia gave up some plays here and there, turned the ball over, which has become a theme. Um, but losing Brock Bowers for 4 to 6 weeks obviously is not good news. And he's probably the best player in college football, but we still should not lose a game. I won't come on here and make excuses if we do lose a game about Brock Bowers. The deepest position on our team is tight end. So if we lose, it's not because Brock Bowers went out. And I hope that he'll play again this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, best wishes to him, of course, obviously. You never want to see somebody get injured, especially somebody that's you don't want to see anybody get injured at all, but somebody that's really, really talented like Brock Bowers is, you really don't want to see them get injured. Just because the way that it could change their career. But yeah, Georgia pulls it out. A little bit of a slow start again, for y'all, in my opinion. And I'm not gonna say y'all need to clean it up, but I don't know. You get
We
some
do
slow
need to clean
start.
it up. We
Huh?
do need to clean it up. We definitely need to clean it up.
I mean, yeah.
100%.
I mean, you get out to a slow start like that against a team not named Vanderbilt, and who knows what happens. Moving on from that, Michigan, didn't watch any of it. Again, it's just Michigan. I've said it so many times. Michigan just seems to do this. They've been doing this thing where they kind of just they go out there, they put the points that they need to put up on the board, and then they put their backups in.
Yep.
And it's kind of a scary thing because they really haven't played anyone yet. And so we're waiting to see. I'm waiting just to see when they play someone, what do they do? And it's not going to be this week. I don't think it's going to be the next week either. I don't think they play Penn State week 10, I think, right? Or do you know?
I think it's week 10 or 11.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, yeah, Michigan, they're just doing their thing, honestly. And then another team that's also just kind of doing their thing is Ohio State. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, pulled out a close one against Notre Dame. But they played Purdue this week, did their thing. Purdue did score a garbage time touchdown, so that 7 points is a little asterisk beside it, I guess.
Probably Ohio State's best game
Yeah,
this year they played, especially offensively. They were good offensively.
I agree. I agree for sure. But yeah, big game for them this upcoming week, which we'll get to later. Florida State, again, like these last two teams we talked about, just did what they were supposed to do against Syracuse. Not much we can really say on that. I think we had this one on for a little while, but I really was not paying attention to it.
We just kind of had it on to have it on. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Penn State beats UMass, which that was the biggest spread of the week. It was Penn State minus 42. We both took Penn State to cover, which they did. We'll go back over that later. Big game. Jacob, you want to talk about Washington?
game of the year so far, in my opinion. Washington and Oregon, these two teams are both really, really good. Just because Oregon lost does not mean they are a bad team. These two are both still contenders, all of this stuff. Now, Dan Lanning, the coach of Oregon, really sold Oregon a couple of times during this game. The 4th and 4, they should have just punted the ball. There's less than 2 minutes to go. You make Washington drive the length of the field with one timeout. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with it if you want. If you get that first down on that play, you win. But they set Washington up with a short field, and you just don't give the Heisman Trophy winner, as of today, chances.
I agree.
And that's
Washington.
what Junior is.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Washington, really good team. We can probably get into it a little more later, but just real quick, they've got the best resume in the country right now, probably 100%. Best wide receiver room in the country. Really talented team, but it's one of those teams that hasn't really been in this position before. So, coming weeks, this Pac-12, everybody in the Pac-12 schedule is not going to get easier. That conference is And it's so just like funny that it's the last year that the Pac-12 is a big conference and a full conference, and it's just like all of a sudden all these teams have just turned into powerhouses. And I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. Pac-12, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say best college and conference football, or sorry, best conference in college football right now. But I feel like that's a tough one to say. But yeah,
Definitely the
Washington.
most competitive.
Yeah, Washington. Let's see. Let's see if they can ride it out now, because they've set themselves up for a trip to college football playoffs for sure with that one. Um, Notre Dame, Southern Cal. Um, if you remember, if you watched our first episode, I had Southern Cal winning the national championship. But here is my thing, okay? I had Southern Cal winning the national championship. But I predicted them to lose one game during the regular season. And that game was this game right here. So I'm not counting them out yet. But yeah, their defense is so bad. Their defense is so bad. And really, they just kind of shot themselves in the foot in this game, man. I mean, if you can look, you see right here, it was 24-6 at halftime. They looked really bad. And I honestly, I think everyone just kind of thought this game's already over. 24-6 at halftime, this game's already over. They come out, they put points up, they make it 24-13. And what happens? They kick the ball off and give up a 99-yard kick return touchdown. So yeah, they just kind of shot themselves in the foot in this game. Notre Dame is a legit team. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses and say, oh, Southern Cal lost to I was gonna say Stanford, but they kind of looked good this week. Southern Cal lost to Middle Tennessee State or someone like that. But yeah, those also, they kind of did put up some points in garbage time. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm making excuses here, but yeah, I don't think Southern Cal is out of it. They definitely have a long road ahead again for a Pac-12 team. They got to play these two teams right here in back-to-back weeks here in a couple weeks, so they're not out of it, but bad loss for them. You got anything on this one?
I think the funniest part I talked a lot of crap about this game. Don't get me wrong. I think it was hilarious. But what's funny about this game, Notre Dame wins, and they still have nothing to play for when it comes to a playoff or national championship because they refuse to join a conference. USC still has everything to play for, and they lost the game. So I just thought it was funny that even though one team won and one team lost, it still doesn't matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Notre Dame, I definitely think should hop in a conference somewhere. But Notre Dame's also sitting there with 2 losses. But the way this college football season has been going, man, I wouldn't be surprised if a team or two gets in with 2 losses this year. So I mean,
a team could get in with 2 losses this year, but that team won't be Notre Dame.
Yeah, for sure.
If they can't win a conference.
Alabama, the team I had USC beating in the national championship. Yeah, I don't. They got to get the run game going straight up. These Alabama teams that have been successful in the past have always had a dominant run game with a really good defense. And this Alabama team has that really good defense.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely do. Jalen Milroe, if he can start getting a little more accurate, not on, what did you say the other day? Not on wide open receivers 20 plus yards down the field.
Jalen Milroe is the best quarterback in the country at hitting wide open receivers 20 plus yards down the field.
Yeah. Dude can sling the ball, man, but man, it's just not accurate. Reminds me a little bit of Anthony Richardson, a little bit.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, if they can get McClellan going on the ground, I think it'll open up Milroe's game a lot more. Because they definitely have the defense to win a national championship, but the offense is just not there. It's kind of crazy because I feel like if you took USC's offense and Alabama's defense, they would not lose a football game.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Maybe last week with USC's offense, but
yeah. But Arkansas, Uh, Man, we were talking about it. Like we both think Arkansas is a good football team, but man, they're 2-5 and they haven't won a game in the SEC. But it's so hard because we like Arkansas a little bit.
They're
We like
not
KJ
that
Jefferson.
bad.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're gonna make a bowl game at this point. Honestly, I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, but man, Arkansas is struggling. They're just struggling. North Carolina, whoa, 6-0. A little bit of a statement win over Miami. You want to talk about this one?
UNC might be legitimate this year. So we live in North Carolina, and I'm sure you deal with this too. People will come up to me and be like, "You think UNC's got a shot at the playoff this year?" Because they'll be sitting at 6-1, 7-1, and I always say no. But this team might be a little different. They're really, really good on offense, and their defense has not let them down yet. They're a really good team.
Yeah. Tough road ahead for them too, though. I know just off the top of my head, they do still have to play NC State. I mean, not NC State. Well, they do have to play NC State, but
Yeah.
Duke. I think they get that one at home though. I think they played them there last year.
They get Duke at home, but they have to go to State and to Clemson.
Yeah, that's the last one I was at. But and then late in the season, you have to go to Clemson, and that's not going to be an easy place to play either. But yeah, they're looking legitimate right now. Their defense still has a little bit of question marks.
Yeah,
but the offense is just it's legit. They got Tez Walker back, who has been a help to them. And a Marion Hampton, I mean, you see right here, 24 carries, 197. He's been a beast in the running back or in the backfield for them as running back.
you want to talk about like the best running back duos in the country? Marion Hampton and British Brooks. I mean, find two better running backs than that.
Yeah, and shout out British Brooks. Just got it from Gastonia, from my hometown. So I just shout out British Brooks real quick.
What happened?
Yeah, I mean, man, we didn't watch any of this game. But like this is a surprise, man.
This
really
is just college football.
Like, I mean, dude, going into the season, I thought Pitt was going to be, at least a bowl game team. And prior to this game, they looked like one of the worst teams in Power 5.
Yeah, easily.
Power 5. Louisville coming off a huge win against Notre Dame.
6-0.
Yeah. And they just go up to Pittsburgh and get dominated.
I mean, second half outscored 24-0.
I don't understand what happened because I didn't watch the game, but I mean, I'm not gonna say it ruins your season. You're already bowl eligible. They could not win another game. They're at least gonna make a bowl game.
I mean, they're still alive in the ACC.
Yeah, but I mean, like, man, that really sucks. That really sucks because that's gonna go. I mean, imagine they're sitting at what 12-1 ACC champs
with a loss to Pitt.
With a 17-point loss to Pitt, who might not make a bowl game. It's just I don't know. UCLA, Oregon State, battle of the mid quarterbacks in the Pac-12. Yes, I said it. Don't care. Didn't watch a single play of this game though. Not gonna lie.
Oregon State is a legitimate team. Oregon State is a very legitimate. I'm not saying Pac-12 champ. I'm not saying New Year's Six, but top 15 team. Oregon State's got it.
Yeah, they're a legitimate team with a very mid quarterback. That's an agenda I gotta push. I'm sorry, but what as a Clemson fan, what I'm getting excited for right now, it could be shaping up a little bit, is Clemson versus Oregon State. I think it's called the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, Pac-12 ACC. Give it to me. I would love that as a Clemson fan. I would love to play DJ. Now, it could backfire very, very, very much on me, but yeah. Utah improves to 5-1. Cam Rising has still not played a snap of football. Starting to get a little worried about that situation. at this point. Didn't watch this game. They did what they were supposed to do, though. They should have beat Cal by 20 points. Duke, I know it says 24-3. I didn't watch this game, but I heard that they kind of dominated NC State, though, even though the scoreboard doesn't necessarily say so. I know you held them to 3 points, and they didn't score past the first quarter. But
Riley Leonard.
Yeah, you can talk on that. I think you know a little bit more about than I do because you were the one that brought it up to me.
Yeah, Riley Leonard was out for this game. Now, he is day-to-day, which is huge for this week. We'll talk about that later. But Duke, a lot of times these teams like Duke are disproportionately affected by injuries to their star players because they don't recruit as well and whatnot. But Duke coming out and dominating a team like NC State, who's not a powerhouse, but they're not a pushover.
Yeah.
And coming out and taking care of business without your quarterback really proves to me that Duke is a legitimate football team this year.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, NC State, not a pushover, not a powerhouse, but rivalry game nonetheless, 30 minutes down the road from each other. I mean, I'm sure there was a decent crowd of NC State fans at this game too. But yeah, I hope that he's okay. I would like to see him play this week against Florida State. I feel like that would be a better matchup than him not playing. Tennessee, Texas A&M. We watched this game. Man, this is a good football game. I know not a lot of points scored. It was a good football game. Tennessee is kind of doing this thing again that they've done in the past couple of years, where they just hang around. They hang around, and then they eventually lose to Georgia. But Tennessee is looking like a top 15 to 20 team in the nation, which is where they're ranked right now. Texas A&M, they're still pretty good, but that's all I can really say about that. You got anything? I know you're big SEC.
It just felt like, I mean, I'm taking this quote from multiple people, but it felt like you were watching Wisconsin, Iowa when you watched this game. Like neither of these teams could score at all. It's weird with Tennessee, but their defense has improved a lot.
Yeah,
but their offense is just Joe Milton's got to figure it out and do it quickly.
Yeah. Another one. What happened? I mean, Washington State, and I think I said this too. Washington State went from one of the best offenses in college football through the first 4 weeks to being an absolute ghost these past 2 weeks. I can't remember the exact number, but I think they scored less than 20 points against UCLA last week, or I guess technically 2 weeks ago now. And then they scored 6 points against Arizona. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, because I was monitoring this game a little bit, I think they scored 6 points on their first drive of the game or second drive of the game.
Yeah.
For 2 and didn't get it. And then on top of that, you let Arizona. Now Arizona is an improved football team this year, so trying not to take away from them. But they've been kind of a doormat of the Pac-12 the past couple of years, and you let them score 44 points on you while only scoring 6 points. That's not the Washington State that I know.
I almost wonder if Cameron Ward is playing hurt or something.
And that's the other point I was going to make. I mean, Cameron Ward was a guy that, if you watched our last couple episodes, was in my dark horse for Heisman because this team was 4-0. This team was scoring 40-plus points a game pretty much. And Cameron Ward had amazing stats in the past 2 games. He hasn't shown up, and neither has their offense. I don't know if it's a catalyst type of thing where, he's not showing up, so their offense isn't. But I mean, they can't get nothing going right now, and that's a team that I'm starting to get worried about because you've dropped 2 games in a row. You looked very bad, and again, another one of these Pac-12 teams where their schedule is not going to get any easier at all. Yeah, LSU dominated Auburn. We watched the beginning of this game, and then it was like 17-0, so we kind of switched it out for another one. Yeah, LSU is a legit team when they want to be, in my opinion.
I agree.
Auburn, they're not. Yeah, Auburn is kind of bad. Kansas playing without Jalen Daniels again. I heard that injury is a little bit more serious than they're making it out to be. With his back, Oklahoma State wins late in this football game, 39-32. Shout out Jason Bean, though. I mean, he was 410 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's just not really going to get the job done, I think, like Jalen Dane as well.
I mean, shout out Oklahoma State, too. Going from the second half of last year to the first half of this year, they just, like, welcome back. Like, they were really good, and then they haven't been, and finally get a big win. So
shout out, I guess this is their starting running back. Gordon the second. I don't know what his first name is. 29 carries, 168, 1 touchdown, 6 receptions, 116 yards and a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns and over 250 all-purpose yards. So
Big 12 still wide open. 3 or 4 teams out there that can still get there.
Yeah, for sure. Missouri, getting a little bit of a statement win over Kentucky. I've been kind of preaching it a little bit. Kentucky is not as good as their record was.
No.
They had a game where they struggled with Ball State early in the year and part of that 4-0 run that they went on. And then now they've got beat by more than 3 scores, right? No, did y'all beat them by 3 scores?
We beat them like 52-13.
Okay, so they've got beat by more than 3 scores in 2 straight weeks now. And one being at home. I understand getting beat by Georgia 52-13 on the road, but you got beat by Missouri 38-20. Now, I'm not trying to take away from Missouri, but you got beat 38-21 by Missouri at home.
Yep.
Come on, man. Yeah. I don't think Devin Leary's getting the job done. I think it's just a Kentucky thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Watch out for Missouri, man. Watch out for them. I know y'all struggled with them last year.
They're there.
Iowa State beats Cincinnati. James Madison improves to 6-0. Not too much happening. Florida.
Great game.
South Carolina in a great game. Yeah, Graham Mertz balled out. I'm not even gonna talk about BYU, man. Iowa did beat Wisconsin 15-6. What a great game that was. 82-yard touchdown and then all field goals after that. And Kansas State beats Texas Tech. Georgia State beats Marshall.
Air Force 6-0.
Air Force proves a 6-0, beats a good Wyoming football team.
That Colorado State-Boise State game was an incredible game.
Yep. Colorado State was also a Hail Mary to win the football game. Shout out, I think it's Ashton Genty, 212 yards. He's been balling this year for real.
Well, shout out to me. That was my super dog. Thank you.
Hey, hold on. I was getting there, man. Dang. We picked games last week. I forgot to go over them as we were going over them. I'll go over them real quick. We had a bunch of the same picks. So starting from here down, FSU minus 18.5, Alabama minus 19.5, JMU minus 6, and Washington minus 3. We all picked totally correct. We had FSU win and cover, Bama win, Arkansas cover, JMU win and cover, Washington win and cover. But Washington was a push. But I just went ahead and counted it since we both picked it the same way. Tennessee A&M was one we had differently. Tennessee with minus 3. I had Tennessee win and cover, which was correct. Jacob had A&M upset outright, so that was wrong. Wisconsin, Iowa, we picked the same thing. Wisconsin wins, Iowa covers. We were both wrong. USC, Notre Dame, Miami, UNC, we both had the same picks. Notre Dame minus 2.5 win and cover. UNC minus 3. UNC wins and covers. And then UCLA, Oregon State. We both had Oregon State minus 3.5 win and cover, which all 3 of those hit. Second game, and only one of 2 games we picked differently. Missouri, Kentucky. Kentucky was minus 2.5. Jacob had Kentucky winning and covering, which was not correct. I had Missouri with the upset. So I won last week 9-7. Let's talk about the poll real quick. Just super quick. And I keep forgetting we have 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks till basketball playoffs. So AP poll does matter as of right now. Georgia, nothing crazy in this top area. Washington moves up 2 slots. Oklahoma and Penn State dropping 1 because of Washington jumping them 2. Texas up 1. Oregon only drops 1 spot with a loss.
I'm good with it.
I think is reasonable. North Carolina into the top 10, jumping 2 spots after their win. Oregon State jumps 3 spots. They're at 12 now. Alabama 11, Ole Miss 13, Utah 14. Notre Dame up 6 spots after their loss to Louisville the previous week, where they dropped like 9 or something like that. After beating USC down 8-18. Duke, Tennessee in there, LSU in there, Missouri's back in the rankings. I think they had fell out right after losing to LSU, and then popped back in. Louisville down 7 slots, which I think is generous, honestly. Air Force comes in there at 22. Tulane comes in at 23. And Iowa comes in at 24, with UCLA dropping 7 spots to 25. James Madison is right there with Clemson.
Somebody want to explain to me why UCLA is ranked and James Madison's not? I don't get that.
I agree. But yeah, you want to talk about our personal top 25 real quick if you want to. You can go ahead.
Yeah. You want me to go all the way through, or you want me to just stop it?
Yeah, let's just go all the way through. Oh, Jacob Liberty took the lead back.
Beautiful. All right, for me, I have Louisville at 25, UCLA 24, Iowa 23, LSU 22, Air Force 21, James Madison 20, Duke 19, Missouri 18, Notre Dame 17, Tennessee 16, Utah 15, Oregon State 14, USC 13, Ole Miss 12, Alabama 11. Then I have Texas 10, Oregon 9, North Carolina 8, Ohio State 7, Oklahoma 6, Penn State 5, Florida State 4, Washington 3, Michigan 2, Georgia 1.
Yeah. So we have 24 of the 25 same teams ranked. And funny enough, the one spot or the one team, the difference are in the same exact slot. But I can tell you were a little bit more lenient on some losses and a little bit more strict on some losses, I think, than I was over the past 2 weeks, because remember, we did not record an episode last week. So our rankings have changed twice since our last episode. So get mine started. I also have 25 at Louisville. I think we had talked about that, and I think we mutually agreed that they should be at 25. Yeah. The one difference, you had UCLA at 24, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I dropped them out. I have Clemson at 24, and I know that might sound a little biased, but I don't care. 1, I don't care. And 2, I think it's a reasonable ranking. I mean, you saw on the AP poll, they were 26th. But I mean, I have Florida State in the top 6 teams in the nation, and we almost beat them. So that's my reasoning behind that. Iowa 23, Missouri 22, LSU 21, Air Force at 20, James Madison at 19, Utah at 18, Duke at 17, Tennessee at 16. I dropped Oregon to 15. USC to 14, Ole Miss at 13, Notre Dame at 12, Oregon State 11, Texas 10, Alabama 9. I don't care if you have an opinion about it. UNC at 8, Oklahoma at 7, FSU at 6, Penn State at 5, Ohio State at 4, Washington at 3, Michigan at 2, and Georgia at 1.
I'm glad that we both have UNC above the one-loss teams. The AP didn't do that. I think if you're undefeated and you're Power 5, you should be ahead of everyone that's not undefeated.
Yeah, I agree. I just saw this right now. I forgot to say it. You don't have to if you want to, but new little segment we had implemented, I think, last episode. My favorite game of the week last week was Washington, Oregon, and Houston, West Virginia. And then my most surprising games of the week was Stanford coming back on Colorado and Pitt blowing Louisville out. So I don't know if you have one, if you want to say it real quick, but yeah.
I think my favorite game to watch, honestly, might have been Florida and South Carolina. Just an awesome back and forth game. Most surprising games, got to include Colorado, got to include Louisville. I would throw in West Virginia and Houston as a surprising game. Also surprised that Oklahoma State beat Kansas.
Okay. Yeah. Heisman is Michael Penix is to lose.
Yes.
Yeah. Best stats, best team with a resume, and has shown up when needed to. I don't think there really is anything much left to say on that. There's no doubt Michael Penix should be your favorite and everyone's favorite for Heisman right now.
Absolutely.
Number 2, who do you have at number 2?
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I also have Dylan Gabriel at number 2. 3, Caleb Williams.
I have Bo Nix at 3.
Okay. All right. I have in this one came to a bit of surprise with you when I was talking about it earlier. I have Carson Beck at number 4.
I have Carson Beck at 5. I have Caleb Williams at 4.
Okay. Yeah. Carson Beck's team's undefeated, and stats aren't bad at all by any means.
And in the country in passing yards.
Yeah. I got to give him the nod on that one. And then 5, I have JJ McCarthy. I understand why people might be a little hesitant about JJ McCarthy being in the top 5. But again, the stats for him don't look as good because he hasn't played. I don't think he's played a full game all year.
No.
Like if you look at his stat lines, you could say I'm making this up and pretty much I am, but you look at a stat line, you're going to see 18 for like 22, 225 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. That's every week.
And his team is 7-0. So yeah, that's why I had to give him a nod also. Dark horses. He's literally, I mean, these 2 guys I'm about to say are pretty much right behind JJ McCarthy, if not in the same grouping as him. Drake May is starting to turn it on a little bit. And again, his team is undefeated. And Jaden Daniels, I know that they've lost 2 football games. They've lost 2 football games. But that man is literally doing everything in his power for LSU to win a football game. And
if they can keep winning, if they can get to 10-2, he's going to be in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if you sit down, if you have not watched an LSU game, sit down and watch an LSU game and watch what Jaden Daniels does on the football field. It's very impressive. And then for fun, I had to throw in a dark horse, an extra dark horse, non-quarterback, non-offensive player. I had to go with a defense player. His stats aren't super over the top. But if you watch him play, again, it's kind of like a Jaden Daniels thing pretty much. If you watch this guy play, you can see the impact that he is making on the field for his team. And that's Dallas Turner out of Alabama edge rusher. Guy's going to be a top probably 10 to 15 pick in the draft this upcoming year. But he's very good, and he makes an impact both in the passing and run game on defense for Alabama.
I also had Dallas Turner in my dark horses. My other dark horse, he's not in the same category as like a Jaden Daniels. He's in that next tier down. But Brady Cook for Missouri, really carrying the load for that team. They're 6-1, everything out in front of them, and nobody expected this out of Missouri. So
I didn't.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Is that the only one?
Yeah, I had him and Dallas Turner.
Cool. All right. Let's move into this upcoming week. First off, we'll start with the biggest spread of the week. I mentioned the Penn State from last week earlier. Right now, I did do a records update for all of our little games that we like to do for this week. So we'll talk about that real quick. Right now, I'm sitting at 1.5 of 3. And Jacob is sitting at a perfect 3 of 3 going into this week with biggest spread of the week. Biggest spread of this week is Army at LSU. -30 LSU. Jacob, we've already talked about it. I know what I'm taking. I know what you're taking. I'm assuming we're both taking LSU to cover this -30 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cover.
Easy.
Lay the points.
Easy. All right. Super Dogs. Record update. Jacob is 2 for 3. His first miss was the first week. It was I gotta remember now. Hold on. It was, I think it was like, wasn't it like Michigan or like Nebraska? It was some big team.
It was Nebraska and Michigan blew them out.
Plus 17.5. That week I took Arizona State plus 12.5 plus Cal, which did hit. I am 3 for 3 right now. Week 2, I had Rutgers plus 13. Jacob had Wyoming plus 6, both hit. And last week, I had Wyoming plus 11 versus Air Force, which hit. And Jacob had Colorado State, which he mentioned earlier, plus 9 versus Boise State, which also hit. So Jacob is 2 for 3. Jacob, who you got this week?
I've got Eastern Michigan at Northern Illinois. Eastern Michigan is a 12.5-point underdog at Northern Illinois. Eastern Michigan is 4-3. Northern Illinois is 3-4. Expecting a close game.
Yeah, I agree. I have Northwestern plus 11 at Nebraska. I think that Northwestern is the better football team. I know Nebraska isn't an easy place to play, though. Again, I expect a close game in this one, and 11 is just too big for me. So give me Northwestern plus 11 versus Nebraska. So yeah, we both have perfect records on the line this week in 2 different of our little mini games we like to play here. And then let's preview this week, man. We talked about that a little bit before. We did not write down any games yet, so we're just going to kind of scroll through here and just kind of talk about these football games. Record update. I am 4-0 against Jacob this year. But I know the record is going to be hard for Jacob to come back, but the point differential is not that big. I have 34 total points of the year. Jacob has 27, but I have won every week just in close fashion. I'm like the Vikings last year in the NFL.
One thing that's awesome about this week, the slate this week, is there's a marquee matchup at every time slot.
Yeah, for sure.
I was looking at that earlier today.
First pit stop I want to take is Thursday night. A team that we have talked about a little bit the past couple weeks. James Madison 6-0, getting kind of that first real road test in the Sun Belt this year at Marshall. We've been there before. We've been to Marshall for a road game. We know it's a pretty good football environment up there in West Virginia. But JMU 6-0, perfect record on the line. They are minus 3.5 at Marshall. Jacob, hit me.
Well, before I pick the game, one thing I didn't know, you might have known this, is that JMU actually cannot participate in the postseason this year because it just sucks. And next year they could potentially make the playoff. But anyways, I'm besides the point. I think, and I hate saying this, it's so hard to win on the road during the week. And Marshall, other than JMU, might be the best team in the Sun Belt this year. Give me the Thundering Herd outright to upset.
All right, Marshall with the upset. I'm a ride with my boys, man. Well, I'm calling them my boys, but I'm a ride with the Dukes, man. Give me the Dukes. Give me James Madison to win. 3.5 is weird because I feel like they could definitely win by 3. But just I've always been that. If you've been a frequent watcher of the show, you know I'm rare. Oh my god, I can't talk. Really weird with low spreads. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take JMU and minus 3.5. So win plus cover.
Yeah, all love to both of these schools though. We've been to both places and they're both great.
Oh yeah, for sure. Friday, good on SMU Temple at minus 6.5 against Old Dominion. We're not gonna pick it, but we can talk about it real quick. I mean, I'm not gonna write it down as official scoring, but we can talk about it real quick. I'm not too familiar with Old Dominion this year. Haven't really paid attention to them. I know that we beat them last year. Yeah. Was later in the season. But usually a pretty decent, at least, football program up there at Old Dominion. But I'm going to definitely take App to win. I'm going to take App to cover, too. I think we'll win by a touchdown.
I'm taking App to win and cover, but let me say this. Sean Clark's seat is already hot. He loses this one, and it's on fire.
Clemson, Miami, that's 8 o'clock. We'll come back to it. It's just at the top because I'm logged into my ESPN account, so my favorite teams automatically get put at the top. So that's why these two games are up here. So we'll come back to Clemson Miami when we get to the nightcap. Man, this is the game I want to talk about the most, and fortunately, it's the first one on the slate. We've got Jacobs. Big Ten preseason champs, right?
The Penn State preseason Big Ten champs. Yep.
Yep. Going to Ohio State. Man, I know where you're going with it. So go ahead and say it.
Look, I've watched these two teams play a lot this year, and I'm not trying to knock Ohio State while saying this, but I think Penn State's just a better football team. They've got a great running game, a great defense, and Drew Aller has really come into his own. I think Penn State wins the game. I think they win, which would obviously be a cover. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball on Ohio State, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. I just think that they're a better team.
Yeah. Man, it pains me to do it, and for how bad I want to ride that with you. I don't know if I can.
I get it.
I don't know if I can take Penn State to beat Ohio State there. I think Ohio State will scheme Penn State's running game and shut it down. And call me a hater, but I don't know if Drew Aller can get the job done. I really don't. I don't think he can. But with that being said, I hate Ryan Day. I hate Ohio State. Give me Penn State with upset.
There we go.
On their field. Nothing would make me more happy than watching them get upset at their home stadium by Penn State. UCF Oklahoma, we'll skip that. None of these 12 o'clock games really interest me picking wise. Not a lot of them. Just a lot of mid matchups, honestly, in conference play. So we're going to skip over here to 3:30. We're going to talk about Tennessee, Alabama. Tennessee, Alabama, if everybody remembers last year, amazing football game.
Yeah.
Game of the year at Tennessee. Tennessee wins. It was 52-49, right?
Yep.
I mean, insane game. And they're at Alabama this year instead of at Tennessee. Bama is -9, which is a big spread.
It is a big spread.
Is that 3:30 on CBS? What do you got?
So last year we said 52-49. I think this year this is going to be the complete opposite. I'm thinking low scoring defensive game. I got Alabama. I think Alabama's more equipped to play that low scoring defensive game. It's at Alabama. I think their fan base wants this one bad. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. With that being said, I give me Alabama to win and Tennessee to cover the 9 points.
Yeah. I'm right behind you, honestly. Same exact thing that you just said. Last year when we picked this game, it was not very common. People were picking Tennessee to beat them last year. And I came on here and I'm not going to say I predicted it perfectly, but I was close to it. I came on here and I said, look, Tennessee's got this crazy crowd and it's going to really help them. I think they're going to win this football game. It's going to be close, and I think they're going to win this football game. And they did just that. But exactly what you just said. This game being at Alabama, the line being 9 is a little bit too high for me. Give me Alabama to win with that home field advantage. Give me a low-ish scoring game. And give me Tennessee to cover though, since 9 is a little bit too big for me in this type of game for sure. So yeah, Bama wins, Tennessee covers. Man, a lot of just like mid matchups this week. Oklahoma State, West Virginia's interesting. You know what? We pick this one. I think this is about 4-2 versus 4-2. Both 2-1 in the Big 12 would be a huge win for either one of these teams. We've got Oklahoma State at West Virginia, and West Virginia is minus 3.5. I'm gonna go ahead and pick this one. I'm gonna have to again take the home field advantage. Y'all know I'm a big home field advantage guy. Give me West Virginia to win, and again, because it's so low, give me West Virginia to cover.
Yeah, this game right here is going to go a long way in deciding the Big 12 in general because each of these two teams sitting on one Big 12 loss. I'm right behind you. Give me West Virginia to win and cover. They've been a surprisingly good football team, and they haven't lost at home.
Yeah, for sure. Texas, Houston, North Carolina, Virginia.
That Ole Miss Auburn game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just like upset alert games this week.
Yeah, you know what? We can do Ole Miss Auburn. I think we can do Ole Miss Auburn. Ole Miss at Auburn. Ole Miss is minus 6.5. Said it a couple weeks ago. Auburn, not an easy place to play football at if you're an opposing team. But Auburn just hasn't really impressed me this year at all. Even though they are 3-3, they have not impressed me at all. I know they played Jaw close, but Jaw played a really bad football game. Give me Ole Miss to win. Give me Ole Miss to cover too.
I like that. I'm gonna tell you on that. I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss covers. But this game's gonna be a 4-quarter battle just because it's at home at Jordan Hare.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Pick two. Let's talk about because we only pick 4 games. We usually pick at least like 7 or 8.
You got Duke, Florida State.
Yeah, we're gonna do Duke, Florida State here, and we'll do USC, Utah. But I think we should do TCU, Kansas State. This is an interesting game. Also, Big 12 implications here. TCU is at Kansas State, and Kansas State is minus 6.5. What do you got?
Give me Kansas State to win. Give me Kansas State to cover. Give me Kansas State big. Kansas State loses in the regular season last year to TCU. I think Kansas is a little bit better than that 4-2 record says. I think they're still Big 12 contenders. Give me Kansas State.
Yeah. If we recall, which actually we don't really recall because we didn't do an episode last week recapping the week before. Last time Jacob said, give me a team to win big. That was
Missouri, LSU. Yeah.
Winning big against Missouri, which did not happen. So just because of that, that's gonna be I'm gonna like to call that the big Jacob curse right there. So give me Kansas State to win, but give me TCU to cover. Nah, you know what? Nah, TCU lost their quarterback for the year. Give me Kansas State to win. Okay, give me Kansas State to win and cover. Dang it. I thought about it too much. Give me Kansas State win and cover.
If you're looking for another game to pick too, you can scroll back up. They got Missouri, South Carolina. That spread is actually really low. The 7-point spread.
South Carolina is 2-4.
Well, we'll see.
Duke, Florida State. At Florida State. Florida State is minus 14. This is going to be a hard one to pick for me. If you've got a pick, go ahead.
I am taking Duke to cover no matter if Riley Leonard plays or not. I think this team is scrappy. I don't think Florida State will blow them out. I also think Florida State will win the football game, whether Riley Leonard plays or not. I think being at home, I just think Florida State's really freaking good. So give me Florida State to win and Duke to cover.
I'm going to be kind of risky. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. Either of us ever done this. Give me Florida State to win the football game, Riley Leonard playing or not. Give me FSU to push this.
Okay.
They win by exactly 14 points, I think. That's where I'm going. That's where
Okay. That's risky.
And then last but not least, finishing off 8 o'clock game on Fox is Utah at USC. Do you know? I know I asked you this every week. Do you know is he gonna play or not? Or do you know?
I'm assuming no.
Oh man, I don't think he's ever gonna play football again at this rate. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna look at it on Twitter. So Utah's at USC. USC is -6.5. If Cam Rising plays, I don't know what the outcome of this game is. Yeah. They're saying it's just yeah, I don't think he's gonna play either, but yeah. You got a pick on this one?
I'm like, know that I'm gonna be wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyways. You saw USC and Utah play last year. I've got to see USC beat them to think that they can do it. So I'm picking Utah to win this game. Being at home at being at Southern Cal means nothing to me. There's no home field advantage there. The only home field advantage they have is the fact that Utah has to get on a plane.
Yeah. So you got Utah upset. Gotta do it. I gotta do it, man. Give me USC to win. But give me Utah to cover.
Okay.
Give me Utah to cover 6.5. Yeah, nothing else will happen on Washington, Arizona State. I mean, you know what? We're picking it. Stanford at UCLA. I mean, UCLA at Stanford. What do you got?
UCLA wins and covers.
17?
Yes. Stanford played out of their mind last week.
I'm gonna be really mad if we're tied going into this game and this is what loses me it, but I'm gonna take UCLA to win. Stanford covers.
I like it.
And last but not least, final segment of the show, hot takes. Jacob is currently 1 for 3, and I am 1.5 for 3. I don't remember how I got this half point. Oh, I got a half point last week. Our hot takes last week, since we didn't have a show. Jacob's hot take, which was wrong. You're not getting a point for this, man.
I should get half a point.
How?
He fell out of the top 3 in Heisman.
No, Jacob, I got viewers. I'm going to read Jacob's word for word hot take. Sam Hartman outplays Caleb Williams and takes him out of Heisman race. Not out of the top 3, not out of the top 5, out. Okay.
He's not winning the Heisman now. That game.
Sam Hartman did not even outplay Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams played terrible.
He
2,
did.
Caleb Williams is not. You literally had Caleb Williams in your top 5.
Yeah, but he's not winning it.
He's not out of the race, though. Is he out of the race?
He is out of the race. He's not winning.
Nah. You're not getting any points for that one. Jacob is 1 for 3. I'm 1.5 for 3. I got half a point last week because my hot take was Vandy, Indiana, and Arkansas all covered the spread in the early slate, and 2 of the 3 did.
But they didn't. You said all 3.
No, you said that I get half a point for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
In person. All right.
Okay.
In person, you said that.
All right. My hot take for the week, since you want to disrespect my picks, is that South Carolina covers the spread against Missouri, if not wins the game.
What even is it? 7?
Yes.
All right. You want to reword that for me? If
South Carolina will cover the 7-point spread against Missouri.
Okay. All right. So you just essentially just have 2 super dogs.
More or less.
All right. Well, Yeah, I didn't put many thoughts into this one. I think I know what I'm gonna.
We didn't pick Clemson.
Oh, we didn't. That's right. Good eye. Clemson's at Miami. Clemson -3.5. What do you got?
We're playing at Miami. The only home field advantage there is that you have to get on a plane and play against 500 people. Clemson's been on a roll. Miami's lost 2 in a row. Give me Clemson to win and cover.
I'm gonna take the same. Just because spread's too low, and I think that we can actually beat them. My hot take is I was about to double down, but I can't jinx my team like that. I'm too superstitious. Give me, you know what? Yeah. Jalen Milroe, 400 all-purpose yards.
See, I thought about doing something like that.
Jalen Milroe, 400 all-purpose yards. 2+ total touchdowns in a win against Miami. I mean, not Miami. Sorry, I was looking at the piece of paper. Against Tennessee. Yeah. Oh, also, because we missed the episode last week, can we give a round of applause? This is gonna sound so narcissistic, but can we give myself a round of applause for predicting 3 top 15 upsets 2 weeks ago? Woo. Now I picked 2 of 3 of the games correct, but I did. Washington State was in the top 15 when they lost. And a quick update from that week: I scored 8 points. Davis scored 5.5. I went over our super dogs. Jacob's hot take was wrong because it was Carson Beck 400 yards, Georgia 3-score win. That was where I gave. Okay. So Jacob doesn't even have a full point. You just have 2 half points. Oh boy, there you go.
Should have 3 half points.
You know, I might have gave you a half point for last week. I'm not gonna lie. I think I did actually. I did. I gave you a half point for last week. Okay, you can stop crying about it now. There we go.
Not crying.
And the biggest spread of the week 2 weeks ago that we missed was Ohio -26 versus Kent State, and Ohio won by 25. So that was painful for me. But yeah, that's all we got for y'all this week. And I'm gonna say we'll see y'all next week. Hopefully we will. We appreciate y'all supporting, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace out.